The awakening of the Guardians. The galaxy was vast, a sprawling tapestry of stars, planets, and civilizations, each with its own story to tell. Among them, the Galactic Council stood as a beacon of unity, a coalition of over 60 species bound by peace and mutual prosperity. For centuries, the Council had flourished, its members thriving under the guidance of their shared values. Yet, beneath the surface of this utopia, a shadow loomed, a threat so ancient and terrible that even the Council's wisest elders dared not speak its name. It began with a signal, faint and distorted, picked up by a remote outpost on the edge of Council space. The message was brief, almost unintelligible, but its urgency was undeniable. A species known as the Vital, a race of nomadic explorers, had encountered something that had driven them to the brink of extinction. Their plea for help was desperate, their words laced with fear. "They are coming," the message repeated. "They are coming, and they will not stop." The Council convened in haste, their chambers filled with representatives from every corner of the galaxy. Among them stood Ambassador Kale, a human diplomat known for his calm demeanor and sharp intellect. Humanity had long been a pillar of the Council, though they had always maintained a certain distance, their home system shrouded in mystery. They were the architects of the slip drive, the founders of the Council, and yet they refused to join its ranks. Their reasons were their own, and for centuries, the Council had respected their privacy. But now, as the Vital's warning echoed through the chamber, Kale stepped forward. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. "We have heard the Vital's plea," he said, "and we must act. This threat is not one we can ignore." The Council erupted into debate. Some argued for immediate action, while others urged caution. The Vital were known to be dramatic, prone to exaggeration. Could their warning be trusted? Kale listened in silence, his mind racing. He knew the truth that humanity had guarded for generations. The threat was real, and it was far worse than anyone could imagine. As the debate raged on, a new message arrived, this time from the Durak, a species known for their resilience and strength. Their colony on the edge of Council space had been attacked. The images they transmitted were horrifying. Cities reduced to rubble, entire populations slaughtered, and a fleet of ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The enemy was relentless, their technology advanced beyond comprehension. The Council fell silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Kale stepped forward once more. "We must retreat," he said. "Retreat to the human home system. There we will be safe, and there we will prepare." His words were met with disbelief. Retreat to the human home system. The Council had never been invited there, not in all the centuries of their alliance. What secrets did humanity hold, and why had they chosen now to reveal them? Kale offered no explanation, only a promise. "Trust us," he said. "We have guarded you for generations. Now it is time for you to see the truth." And so, the Council agreed. Their ships set course for the human home system, their hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty. As they approached, they were struck by the system's beauty. A green and blue jewel surrounded by a network of artificial stations and fortified moons. It was a testament to humanity's ingenuity, a system transformed into a fortress. They landed on the third planet, a world of vast oceans and lush forests. The air was clean, the skies clear, and the humans welcomed them with open arms. Yet beneath the surface of their hospitality, there was an undercurrent of sadness, a sense of inevitability. That night, as the Council feasted, Kale stood before them, his expression solemn. "Tomorrow," he said, "we will show you the truth of who we are, and the truth of what we face." The Council slept fitfully, their dreams haunted by visions of the enemy. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning. The awakening of the Guardians was at hand, and with it, the dawn of a new era, the veil of secrets. The morning sun rose over the human homeworld, casting a golden glow across the sprawling landscapes. The council members, still reeling from the previous night's revelations, gathered in the grand hall of the human capital. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging over the room. Ambassador Kale stood at the center, his presence commanding yet somber. Behind him, a massive holographic display flickered to life, projecting a star map of the galaxy. "What you are about to see," Kale began, his voice steady but heavy with emotion, "is not just the history of humanity, but the history of the galaxy itself, a history we have guarded for centuries, waiting for the day when it would no longer be a secret." The room fell silent as the hologram shifted, showing a timeline that stretched back thousands of years. It began with a small blue planet, Earth. The humans called it their cradle, the birthplace of their species. But as the timeline progressed, the story took a darker turn. Long before the Galactic Council existed, Kel continued, humanity was fractured, divided by war and conflict. We were a species driven by ambition and fear, constantly at odds with one another. Our greatest achievements were born from our darkest moments, and our worst atrocities were committed in the name of progress. The hologram displayed images of ancient battles, cities reduced to rubble, and the horrors of nuclear war. The council members watched in stunned silence, their understanding of humanity shifting with every passing moment. But amidst the chaos, Kale said, a seed of wisdom took root. We realized that our path was unsustainable, that if we continued down this road, we would destroy ourselves. And so, we changed. We united, not just as a species, but as a civilization. We turned our focus outward, to the stars, and in doing so, we discovered something extraordinary. The hologram zoomed out, showing the galaxy in its entirety. A series of red markers appeared, scattered across the map. These, Kale said, pointing to the markers, are the remnants of a civilization that came before us. A civilization so advanced, so powerful, that they reshaped the galaxy to their will. But their ambition was their downfall. They sought to control everything, to dominate every corner of the universe. And in their hubris, they unleashed a force they could not contain. The hologram shifted again, showing a massive, shadowy figure, a being of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and writhing. The council members recoiled, a collective gasp echoing through the room. "This," Kale said, his voice barely above a whisper, "is the Devourer, a being of unimaginable power, born from the chaos of the ancient civilization's experiments. It consumed them, leaving nothing but ruins in its wake. And now, after millennia of slumber, it has awakened." The room erupted into murmurs of disbelief and fear. The council members turned to one another, their faces pale with dread. Kel raised a hand, silencing them. "We discovered the truth about the Devourer centuries ago," he said, "and we knew that one day it would return. That is why we founded the Galactic Council, not just to unite the species of the galaxy, but to prepare them for this moment. We have been your guardians, your protectors, shielding you from the truth until the time was right." The hologram faded, leaving the room in darkness. Kale stepped forward, his eyes scanning the faces of the council members. "The Devourer is coming," he said, "and it will not stop until it has consumed everything in its path. But humanity has not been idle. We have prepared for this day, building a fleet unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. A fleet capable of standing against the Devourer." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The weight of Cal's words was almost too much to bear. But amidst the fear, there was a glimmer of hope, a hope born from the resilience and determination of humanity. "We will fight," Cal said, his voice firm, "not just for ourselves, but for every species in the galaxy. This is our destiny, our purpose, and we will see it through to the end." As the council absorbed his words, a low rumble echoed through the hall. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the holographic display flickered back to life, showing a fleet of ships entering the system. "They're here," Kale said, his voice barely audible. The council members turned to the windows, their hearts pounding in their chests. In the distance, a massive ship emerged from the void, its dark hull glistening in the sunlight. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a monstrous construct of twisted metal and pulsating energy. The Devourer had arrived. The gathering storm. The arrival of the Devourer's fleet sent shockwaves through the human home system. The massive ship, a grotesque amalgamation of technology and organic matter, loomed over the planet like a harbinger of doom. Its presence was suffocating, a dark cloud that seemed to blot out the stars themselves. The council members, still reeling from Cal's revelations, watched in stunned silence as the enemy fleet took position, their ships bristling with weapons and ominous energy signatures. Ambassador Cal wasted no time. He activated a communication channel, his voice calm but resolute. All units, prepare for engagement. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The human fleet, hidden until now, began to emerge from their concealed positions. Massive battleships, sleek fighters, and towering carriers filled the skies, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology. The council members, many of whom had never seen humanity's military might, were awestruck. The fleet was unlike anything they had ever imagined, a perfect blend of firepower, strategy, and ingenuity. Cal turned to the council, his expression grim. "This is what we have been preparing for," he said. "The Devourer is not just a threat to humanity, but to every species in the galaxy. Today, we make our stand." The council members nodded, their fear tempered by a newfound determination. They had come to the human home system seeking answers, and now they had found them. But with those answers came a responsibility to fight, not just for themselves, but for the future of the galaxy. As the human fleet moved into position, Cal led the council to a secure observation deck. From there, they could watch the battle unfold, safe from harm, but close enough to feel the weight of the conflict. The deck was equipped with holographic displays, showing real-time data on the enemy fleet and the status of the human forces. "The Devourer's ships are unlike anything we've encountered before," Cal explained. "They are not just machines, but extensions of the Devourer itself. They adapt, they learn, and they grow stronger with every battle. But we have prepared for this. Our ships are equipped with adaptive weaponry, capable of countering their tactics." The council members listened intently, their eyes fixed on the holographic displays. The human fleet was a marvel of engineering, each ship designed with a specific purpose. There were the Titans, massive battleships armed with particle cannons and missile arrays. The Phantoms, stealth fighters capable of cloaking and striking with precision. And the Guardians, carriers that served as mobile command centers, coordinating the fleet's movements. As the two fleets closed in on each other, the tension in the observation deck was palpable. The council members held their breath, their hearts pounding in anticipation. Then, with a deafening roar, the battle began. The human fleet struck first, unleashing a barrage of missiles and energy blasts. The devoured ships responded in kind, their weapons firing streams of dark energy that seemed to warp the very fabric of space. The sky lit up with explosions, the sound of battle echoing through the observation deck. Cal watched the battle unfold, his expression unreadable. He had trained for this moment his entire life, but nothing could have prepared him for the sheer scale of the conflict. The Devourer's ships were relentless, their movements unpredictable and their attacks devastating. But the human fleet held their ground, their adaptive weaponry and strategic coordination proving to be a formidable match. As the battle raged on, the council members began to notice something strange. The Devourer's ships were not just attacking the human fleet, they were targeting the planet itself. Massive energy beams struck the surface, carving deep scars into the land and sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. "They're trying to destroy the planet," one of the council members said, his voice trembling with fear. Cal nodded, his jaw clenched. "The Devourer doesn't just want to conquer us. It wants to erase us. It feeds on destruction, on chaos. The more it destroys, the stronger it becomes. The realization sent a chill through the room. The council members looked to Kale, their eyes filled with desperation. "What can we do?" one of them asked. Kale turned to them, his gaze steady. "We fight," he said, "not just with weapons, but with everything we have. The Devourer may be powerful, but it is not invincible. It has a weakness, and we will find it." As if on cue, the holographic display flickered, showing a new development in the battle. A group of human ships, led by a massive Titan-class battleship, had broken through the enemy lines and was heading straight for the Devourer's flagship. "That's the Eclipse," Kale said, a hint of pride in his voice. "It's our most advanced ship, equipped with experimental technology. If anyone can take down the Devourer, it's them." The council members watched in awe as the Eclipse charged toward the enemy flagship, its weapons firing relentlessly. The Devourer's ship responded with a barrage of dark energy, but the Eclipse's shields held firm. The battle was fierce, the two ships locked in a deadly dance of destruction. But just as it seemed the Eclipse might prevail, the Devourer's ship unleashed a devastating attack. A beam of pure energy that tore through the Eclipse's hull, crippling the ship and sending it spiraling out of control. The observation deck fell silent, the council members staring in horror as the Eclipse plummeted toward the planet's surface. Kel's expression darkened, his hands clenched into fists. "This isn't over," he said, his voice low and determined. "We will not let the Devourer win. Not today. Not ever." As the battle continued to rage, the council members realized the true cost of the conflict. The Devourer was not just an enemy. It was a force of nature, a manifestation of chaos and destruction. And humanity, for all their strength and ingenuity, was facing their greatest challenge yet. But amidst the chaos, there was hope. The human fleet, though battered and bruised, continued to fight with unwavering resolve. And in their determination, the council members saw a reflection of their own strength, a strength that would carry them through the storm. The fractured horizon. The Eclipse's descent was a gut-wrenching sight, its once proud hull now a fiery comet streaking across the sky. The council members in the observation deck could only watch in stunned silence as the ship disappeared into the horizon, its impact sending a shockwave that rattled the entire facility. For a moment, it felt as though the battle itself had paused, the weight of the loss pressing down on everyone present. Ambassador Kale stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Eclipse had been more than just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's ingenuity, a testament to their determination to stand against the Devourer. Its destruction was a blow, but Kale knew they couldn't afford to falter. "We've lost the Eclipse," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his chest. "But we haven't lost the battle. Not yet." The council members turned to him, their faces a mix of fear and desperation. "What do we do now?" one of them asked, their voice trembling. Kel's gaze hardened. "We adapt. We fight smarter. The Devourer may have the upper hand, but it's not invincible. We just need to find its weakness." As if to emphasize his words, the holographic display flickered, showing a new development. The Devourer's flagship, the monstrous vessel that had crippled the Eclipse, was now moving toward the planet's surface. Its dark hull pulsed with energy, and its weapons glowed ominously as it prepared to unleash another devastating attack. "It's targeting the planet's core," Kale said, his voice tight with urgency. "If it succeeds, the entire planet will be destroyed." The council members exchanged horrified glances. The human homeworld was not just a strategic stronghold, it was the heart of their civilization, a symbol of their resilience and unity. Losing it would be catastrophic, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. Kale activated a communication channel, his voice cutting through the chaos. "All units, focus your fire on the Devourer's flagship. We need to buy time." The human fleet responded immediately, their ships converging on the enemy flagship with relentless determination. The sky lit up with explosions as the two forces clashed, the sound of battle echoing through the observation deck. But despite their efforts, the Devourer's ship continued its descent, its weapons charging for another attack. Kale turned to the Council, his expression grim. "We need to evacuate the planet," he said. "If the Devourer destroys the core, the resulting explosion will wipe out everything within 1,000 kilometers." The council members nodded, their faces pale but resolute. They knew what was at stake, and they were prepared to do whatever it took to survive. As the evacuation orders were issued, Kale remained in the observation deck, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. He knew the odds were against them, but he also knew that humanity had faced impossible odds before and prevailed. The hologram flickered again, showing a new development. A small group of human ships, led by a sleek, agile vessel, had broken through the enemy lines and was heading straight for the Devourer's flagship. "That's the Aegis," Kale said, a flicker of hope in his voice. "It's a prototype, equipped with experimental technology. If anyone can stop the Devourer, it's them." The Aegis moved with precision, its weapons firing in rapid succession as it closed in on the enemy flagship. The Devourer's ship responded with a barrage of dark energy, but the Aegis's advanced shielding held firm. The battle was fierce, the two ships locked in a deadly dance of destruction. But just as it seemed the Aegis might succeed, the Devourer's ship unleashed a devastating attack. A beam of pure energy that tore through the Aegis's hull, crippling the ship and sending it spiraling out of control. The observation deck fell silent once more, the council members staring in horror as the Aegis plummeted toward the planet's surface. Cal's expression darkened, his hands clenched into fists. "This isn't over," he said, his voice low and determined. "We will not let the Devourer win. Not today. Not ever." As the battle continued to rage, Kale received a transmission from the Aegis. The ship's captain, a seasoned veteran named Commander Ilara Voss, appeared on the holographic display, her face streaked with blood, but her eyes filled with determination. "Ambassador Kale," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We've identified a weakness in the Devourer's flagship. Its core is vulnerable to a concentrated energy pulse, but we need to get close to deliver the strike." Kale nodded, his mind racing. "Understood. We'll provide cover. Just get that pulse delivered." The Aegis's engines roared to life, the ship pulling itself out of its descent and charging toward the enemy flagship once more. The human fleet rallied around it, their ships forming a protective barrier, as they fought to clear a path. The battle reached a fever pitch, the sky filled with explosions and the sound of weapons fire. The Devourer's ship unleashed wave after wave of attacks, but the human fleet held their ground, their determination unwavering. Finally, the Aegis broke through the enemy lines, its weapons charging for the final strike. The Devourer's ship loomed before it, its dark hull pulsating with energy. "This is for the eclipse," Commander Voss said, her voice filled with resolve. "And for everyone we've lost." With a deafening roar, the Aegis unleashed a concentrated energy pulse, the beam of light piercing through the Devourer's hull and striking its core. For a moment, the entire battlefield seemed to hold its breath as the enemy flagship shuddered, its dark energy flickering and fading. Then, with a blinding flash of light, the Devourer's ship exploded, its destruction sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. The human fleet cheered, their voices filled with relief and triumph. But the victory was short-lived. As the debris from the enemy flagship rained down on the planet, the holographic display flickered, showing a new development. The Devourer's fleet, though leaderless, was regrouping, their ships converging on the human homeworld once more. Kale turned to the council, his expression grim. "This isn't over," he said. "The Devourer may be weakened, but it's not defeated. We need to prepare for the next wave." The council members nodded, their faces filled with determination. They had faced the Devourer and survived, but the battle was far from over. As the human fleet regrouped and the evacuation efforts continued, Kale looked out at the fractured horizon, his mind racing with plans and strategies. The Devourer had tested their limits, but humanity had proven their resilience. And as long as they stood together, they would never be defeated.